All right, let's talk about David Fincher's 2023 thriller, The Killer. We're told we're watching a master assassin, a real perfectionist. But what if that whole idea is a lie? Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Did you finish this movie and kind of scratch your head, feeling like maybe you missed a key piece of the puzzle? Well, you are definitely not alone. It looks like this super slick, precise thriller on the surface, but I'm telling you, the real story is hiding in plain sight. This line, right here, this is everything. It's the core belief of our main guy, this nameless assassin played so well by Michael Fassbender. He literally builds his entire personality, his whole professional identity, on this idea of absolute, total control. He thinks this strict code is what makes him the best, the top of the food chain.
So, to really get why the whole thing falls apart, we gotta first understand the kind of perfection he's shooting for. I mean, the entire first part of the movie is just Fincher building up this myth, right? The myth of the perfect, flawless killer.
And we hear these rules over and over and over in his head. It's this constant internal monologue. But here's the thing, and you gotta listen closely when you watch it. He's not just reminding himself of the rules. He's trying to convince himself that he follows them. This whole mantra, it's like the soundtrack to the person he wishes he was.
And this is so classic Fincher, right? The style of the movie itself is just as precise and obsessive as the killer thinks he is. That cold, calculated way Fincher shoots everything, it pulls you into that mindset of precision. So at first glance, everything just clicks. It all seems to fit perfectly.
But then, the whole thing gets going, because that perfect system, well, it breaks. Fincher spends all this time building up this image of a flawless operator, and then, bam, he just smashes it to pieces.
So this is the moment. After all that waiting, all that meticulous planning in Paris, he takes the shot, and he misses. He hits a civilian. I mean, for the first time, as far as we know, the plan completely fails, and it's not some little hiccup, it is a disaster. This one single mistake just unravels everything and sets him off on this brutal revenge tour.
And that one mistake, it starts this domino effect. And as he goes on his little revenge spree, his actions start raising some pretty big questions. Because what he does starts to fly directly in the face of the code he lives by.
Okay, let's start with this one, because it's a big one. For a guy who's all about being a ghost, staying under the radar, why in the world does he not wear a mask in these super high-risk moments? It just feels like a beginner's mistake, doesn't it?
Or how about this? He puts on his latex gloves in a crowded public elevator. I mean, come on, that's not exactly subtle, is it? It's basically screaming, I'm about to do something sketchy, and it gets in that suspicious look. It's the complete opposite of blending in. And this one just seems bizarre, right? He needs to get information out of his handler Hodges. So what does he do? He shoots him in the chest with a nail gun, and then expects a long conversation. It makes no sense. The guy dies way too fast. It's just messy, it's emotional, and it's totally inefficient for a guy who prides himself on efficiency.
But this might be the clearest contradiction of his entire philosophy. His rule is forbid empathy, no exceptions. And yet, he gives Dolores exactly what she asks for. He changes his whole plan to make her death look like an accident, all so her kids can get the insurance money. Yeah, so much for forbid empathy.
So what is going on? Are these just plot holes, sloppy writing? No, these aren't just little nitpicks, they are the entire point. The real story, the genius of the film, is in that massive gap between what this guy says in his head and what he actually does in the real world.
I mean, look at this when you put it side by side. It's almost comical, the mantra versus the reality. He says don't improvise, and his one missed shot kicks off a whole improvised revenge quest. Stay under the radar, but he's practically leaving a trail of breadcrumbs. The gap between who he thinks he is and what he actually is, it's just huge.
So his whole vendetta tour is less like a professional hitman cleaning house and more like a series of clumsy, messy, totally improvised brawls. You've got the botched interrogation, the absolutely brutal fight in Florida that was anything but simple. Every single step on this journey just peels back another layer of that fake, perfect persona.
Which leads us to the real story. What if all these so-called mistakes aren't mistakes at all? What if they're actually clues? What if this whole movie has been tricking us, and it's not about what we thought it was about?
And here it is. This is the key. The movie isn't a flawed thriller about a perfect killer. No way. It's a perfect character study about a deeply flawed man who just thinks he's perfect. Those plot holes? They're not plot holes, they are character traits.
He's an unreliable narrator, sure, but he's also just not that good at his job.
The lack of self-awareness is it's incredible. He complains about his jobs being uncreative, right? But then, when he finally gets to call the shots and go on his own little killing spree, what does he use? A gun. Every single time. He talks a big game about being some kind of artist, but when it comes down to it, he's about as basic as they come.
And that's what this is all about. Self-deception. That voiceover we hear the whole time, it's not a rule book. It's a coping mechanism. He's chanting these mantras because he is desperate to believe them. It's his way of pretending he has control in a world of pure chaos. He's not talking to us. He's talking to himself. So the big takeaway here is this. That friction, that huge gap between his perfect inner voice and his sloppy real-world actions, that's the movie. That's the whole point. And once you get that, all the dark humor and the deeper themes just click into place. You realize you're not watching a masterclass. You're watching a complete fraud whose whole identity is a house of cards, and it's all falling down. And in the end, the film kind of leaves you with this question to chew on. The Killer isn't really just a hitman movie, is it? It's a really sharp commentary on ego, on our obsession with control, and on the lies we tell ourselves just to make it through the day. And maybe the biggest takeaway is that the most dangerous thing in the world is to actually start believing your own hype.